You like how I used a euphemism there, Steve?
Yes.
So that we don't have to stop the show so you can yell at me again.
There are rules on this platform.
Strength through discipline. Strength through YouTube's community standards.
The Rees Company.
By the way, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm.
The Rees Company.
Open a tepid Genesee and watch the pictures as they travel through your neighbor's Wi-Fi. It's the Rees Company. I'm Steve Rees, the bull of American broadcasting, alongside the great Chris Morganti. How are you, Chris?
I'm good.
Are you excited about tonight's presentation?
No. You know what I am excited about is the Phillies going to the National League Championship Series.
All right.
And we just did a short 5-minute breakdown of the first two rounds of the playoffs, or really just the last round. But you can check that out on wherever you people watch this stuff. I don't know.
Right. Well, all right. Well, in that case, are you ready for our movie of the week?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Let's do that. Our movie of the week this week is The Wave. It aired in prime time on October 4th, 1981 on ABC. The network decided to rerun it in 1983 as part of their Afterschool Special franchise.
So this was not initially a after-school special?
No.
I did not realize that. Okay.
Now, Chris, were you familiar with the story prior to viewing the film?
No. I took a sociology class in college. I believe it was required as part of my major. I don't know. But we studied something similar, which maybe we'll talk about later. I shouldn't have brought it up right now because nobody will know what I'm talking about.
Okay, but it's good they know to stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
As I said, based on a true story about a sociological experiment that was carried out by a high school teacher.
Mm-hmm.
There was a novelized version of The Wave that I would often eye up at my local library when I was a boy, and I found the cover alluring and also terrifying.
Oh, okay.
Chilling. We have a photo of the cover that you're going to see when we watch the scenes, but you'll be able to see the tagline, "The High School Experiment That Went Too Far." What could that have meant, Chris?
We're not going to play the Dr. Jekyll clip right here?
No, that's
what you were going for.
No, this is the one time we're not going to do that.
Okay. All
right. I never properly investigated exactly how what the experiment was and how did it go too far. But this week, I finally dove in. I finally satisfied my lifelong curiosity and dove into the TV version of The Wave. Hey, the show begins in a high school classroom.
The people selected for extermination by the Nazis were herded into concentration camps located all over Eastern Europe. The life expectancy of prisoners in the camps was only 270 days. They were worked, starved, tortured, and when they couldn't work anymore, they were exterminated in gas chambers, and their remains were disposed of in ovens. In all, the Nazis exterminated over 10 million men, women, and children in these concentration camps. What you just saw took place in...
Anyway, turn your math books to Unit 15. We're discussing integers today.
Yeah. That's some heavy stuff to start off the show, Steve. I hope people are still with us.
Well, Mr. Ross, he's the teacher there, and he goes on to explain how a certain historical figure rose to power by making fiery speeches in which he blamed the loss of World War I on a particular segment of the German population.
Yeah.
So, as class ends...
There's a lot of that going around these days. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
As class ends, One student has a question for Mr. Ross.
Right. How could the Germans sit back while the Nazis slaughtered people all around them and say that they didn't know anything about it? How could they do that? How could they say that?
That was a very good question, Laurie.
Yeah. So, folks, how do you think Mr. Ross answers this question? If you're thinking tersely, you were way off.
Yeah.
If Mr. Ross has a motto, Chris, it's God didn't make half days. Here's a phrase Mr. Ross never uses. Not to put too fine a point on it, but...
Or let me cut to the chase.
And you'll see what we mean shortly. Mr. Ross's response is elaborate and takes up the rest of the show.
And borderline unethical, I should also point out.
So the next day in class, Ross lectures his students on what he calls strength through discipline. He gives them a lesson on posture, and we'll pick things up from there.
Very good, Robert. Now, I want you all to get up and walk about the room. And when I give the command, I want you to return to your seats as quickly as possible and assume the proper seating posture. Come on. Up, 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 up. Take your seat. No. Now let's try it again. Now the quieter and more controlled you are, the quicker you'll be able to reach your seats properly.
All right. So a little bit later, Mr. Ross educates his students on the new proper way to answer questions in class.
Yeah.
And we're going to see this demonstrated. Let's see this method in action.
What country did Hitler invade in September of 1939? Andrea.
Mr. Ross, I don't know.
Still a good response, Andrea. Amy.
Mr. Ross, Poland.
Excellent. What was the name of Hitler's political party?
Mr. Ross, the Nazis.
Good, Brian. Very quick. That was the short name. What was the official name? Laurie.
The National Social...
Sit down and do it again.
Mr. Ross, the National Socialist German Workers' Party.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, Ross does plan to end the lesson the next day. But when he enters the classroom and his students are all quiet, seated, and demonstrating perfect posture, he's taken aback and dives right back into the whole thing.
Yeah.
Introducing what we're meant to believe is improvised iconography.
Now, everyone, repeat our two mottos.
Strength through discipline, strength through community.
Now, we need a symbol for our new community. Something for members of this class only. A wave is a pattern of change. It has movement, direction, and impact. And from now on, we will be known as the wave.
Yeah. Now, later on, we see that logo undergoes some modification.
Yeah.
And I imagine that was due to an injunction from the New York Cosmos. Do we have the logo of the legendary soccer team? Yeah. Not dissimilar to the Wave logo.
I don't see it, but oh, wait. Yeah, I do. Okay, never mind. I was thinking of the later version. It does look like the initial version.
Yeah. I guess they didn't want to be dragged into this guy's malarkey, right? This belabored point.
Yeah. They were the first people to see a problem with all of this. They would not be the last.
So the movement has a name, the Wave. It has a logo, and also a motto. Next, the Wave acquires a salute.
Strength through discipline, strength through community.
Louder.
Strength through discipline. Strength through community. Strength through discipline. Strength through community. Strength through discipline. Strength through community. Louder! Strength through discipline. Strength through community.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the students we saw there, her name is Laurie. And that evening, she recounts to her parents her experience with the wave, being part of this classroom movement. And we're going to see that in a second.
It was incredible. Everybody was saluting and repeating the motto. You couldn't help but get caught up in it.
Ooh.
Paper. You know, really wanting to make it work.
But I don't like it, Laurie. It sounds too much like brainwashing and mob psychology to me.
No, Mom, it's nothing like that. Honest, you just have to be there to feel the positive energy in class to really get what's going on.
I am for whatever will make kids.
Yeah. So I guess this sentiment from Laurie, it's meant to mimic an initial stage of fascism, where the leader provides a minor improvement in the everyday lives of the populace to gain their trust and support. In Laurie's case, it's her newfound enjoyment of attending history class. And the real-life historical example you always hear cited is Mussolini. He made the trains run on time. You ever hear that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What's always forgotten is that he did that by imposing some pretty harsh penalties on tardiness.
Right.
And being late. So Laurie's mother is concerned that her daughter's individuality is being eroded by the wave.
Wait, I don't understand your point there. The penalties for tardiness. Is that a shot at me for showing up at 8:15 tonight?
No.
Okay, all right.
It's a joke.
Sure.
He was a vicious dictator.
I'm aware.
It's
of
very
who
easy for them
Mussolini
to
is.
make the trains run on time if they want to.
Sure. I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Laurie's mother, she's concerned about her daughter's individuality being eroded by the wave. And this is on Laurie's mind the next day in class as this occurs.
Mr. Ross, for the first time I feel like I'm part of something great.
Mr. Ross, this is like being born again.
Mr. Ross, I feel the same way.
Mr. Ross, I'm proud of the wave.
Yeah, that last boy who stood up?
Yeah.
Chris?
Gene Stapleton's son.
Really?
Yeah. You know, Gene Stapleton. Archie!
Yeah.
Yeah, her. Mm-hmm.
He's Gene Stapleton's son, which makes him the star of Angel Dusted. And he's the guy who broke up the trophy case that you make reference to quite often.
Oh, well, we're bringing things full circle here. Now, Steve, I think this is probably a good time to point out that this guy would be fired so fast if he pulled this nonsense today.
Oh, totally. And we will get into some of the real story.
Yeah. He would be branded a fascist and a racist on every social media channel. He would never be able to work as a teacher again. In fact, I believe he would also be accused of, let's just call it inappropriate touching, and never allowed to be anywhere near a school again. You like how I used a euphemism there, Steve?
Yes.
So that we don't have to stop the show so you can yell at me again.
There are rules on this platform.
Strength through discipline, strength through YouTube's community standards. That's the Steve Reese way.
Well, my way is when I take part in a medium, I try to learn as much as I can about it so I can put my own spin on it.
All right.
Without destroying everything.
Okay.
I know that's not a tidy motto,
See,
but that is mine.
That's how you get things done, though. A nice little slogan, nice little salute. Everyone gets on board, as we'll see.
All right. Gene Stapleton's son, his name is David in this, and he's Laurie's boyfriend. And as we heard, he's a wave adherent, and Laurie's burgeoning doubts about the wave start to cause friction in their relationship. So we now see this exchange between Mr. Ross, who is not Judge Reinhold, and a student.
It does really look like him, though, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And this student, who is not every member of the 1993 Philadelphia Phillies.
Robert, what are you doing?
Mr. Ross, I'm your bodyguard.
You're my what?
I want to be your bodyguard. You see, Mr. Ross, for the first time in my life, I feel... Well, nobody makes jokes about me anymore. I'm part of something special. I just don't want anything to ever happen to you.
Now, Rob is what you would call the school loser.
Yeah, he's bullied.
He's bullied, yeah, and they call him Lonesome Rob. They had a number of denigrating nicknames for him. I don't remember. It was Lonesome Rob and Sloppy Rob. I don't know.
Yeah, he sits at a lunch table and people flee.
Yeah. Did you have a guy like that where no one would sit with him at lunch?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. They normally were several of them, and they all congregated in the
Yeah,
same.
they found each other.
And
There was one guy I never wanted to sit with at lunch. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I do want to talk about this one guy because he just had horrible table manners. And
Sure.
I don't mean just being dirty. He would bite into something, and there would just be a trail of saliva from what he just bit
God.
and he wasn't. There was nothing. He wasn't mentally deficient.
Okay, yeah. He just, yeah.
He was just not I guess not supported at home as far as how to
That's how that would come
behave
about.
in public.
Yeah. And then also, he would probably sit with the kid who had BO. Also, his parents they're not picking up on the fact that your son needs some help with his hygiene.
Right.
But yeah. I don't know how common it is for a kid to sit absolutely by himself where no one will sit with him. But I don't know. That's what we saw with Rob there.
That's a kid who burns a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
All right. So as Laurie's concerns grow about the implications of the wave on students' individuality,
Yeah.
she expects to find allies among her classmates. Here, she confides in a friend we'll call Perm Benatar.
Okay.
Amy, read this article that I wrote.
What are you going to do with it?
I'm submitting it to the school paper.
Well, you can't say these things about the wave.
Well, why not? They're true. Amy, the wave has become an obsession with everyone. No one's thinking for themselves anymore.
Come on, you're just upset. You're letting your argument with David get to you.
But the wave is hurting people.
All right, pause it, please.
Everyone's
I just want to point out, Steve, this woman, the actress playing this part, is 26 years old and looks every year.
going along with it.
At least, yeah.
I don't. Why would they not cast someone age appropriate? It makes no sense. You would think she's a teacher.
But it seems like this was quite common in the 80s. People in their 20s and 30s were playing teenagers.
How did that make sense? What was the point of that? Were there no good teen actors?
I
don't get it.
I have no idea.
Like a flock of sheep.
Laurie, please don't submit this.
I already have.
Ooh.
I know what I have to do.
Yeah, so after 2 of Laurie's anti-wave op-eds run in the school newspaper, Laurie's locker is vandalized. The word enemy is spray painted across it.
Oh, who did that? Newsweek? I've seen some disturbing things in the last week coming out of Newsweek,
Oh, really?
which used to be a reputable magazine. I don't know what the hell's going on over there these days.
Oh, no, I wish I could remember some, but sometimes when I pull up my internet, I see some Newsweek headlines,
Yeah.
and they're very clickbaity, and not at all. There are judgments made in headlines, which
Yeah.
is a rule, which is the first rule of journalism.
Yeah.
You don't make judgments, you present facts.
Yeah. And if anyone is watching this who knows when people will see this? It could be years later. Look up the date where this was recorded and figure out what was going on in the
Yeah.
world.
I'm
at the
probably
time.
long dead.
Yeah. Well, if you are, I definitely am. I am on a meatball-based diet. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so David, again, he's Laurie's boyfriend, but they're on the outs. David confronts Laurie outside the school. It appears to be very late at night, though.
Well, not too late for a nice tennis match.
Yeah, exactly. Take note of that, what's going on in the background.
Look, Laurie, will you just listen to me for a minute, please?
David, we said everything that we had to say to each other the other day. Now, I don't want to rehash it, so just leave me alone.
Laurie, you gotta stop writing that stuff against the wave. You're causing all kinds of problems.
The wave is causing the problems, David.
It is not. Look, Lori, we want you with us, not against us.
Oh, count me out.
That's right, Chris. The midnight tennis program. You remember that? Keeping posh kids away from a life of crime. Now, to you folks, that might sound like a tennis ball volleying. To me, that's the sound of a Ponzi scheme never being implemented. Chris?
No, I was just, if that was an intentional choice by the director, it was not a good one. It's just too distracting.
Right.
Yeah. But I'd like to think it's unintentional, and he just couldn't clear the whole area for his shoot.
Yeah, he couldn't acquire the proper permit, so had to shoot it Korea style.
Yeah, and he probably asked him nicely, look, could you maybe do this tomorrow? No? Nope.
Oh, man. Fans of celebrity cameos will enjoy this next clip. Here, we see the A-Team drive by.
Oh, great.
They're on their way to a place called Diagonal Red Stripes Are Us. Let's see this.
Nice.
So at the end of their argument, David pushes Laurie to the ground. And alarmed at his behavior in the name of the wave, the violence,
She started mouthing off, and he shoved her down to the ground.
Yeah, but
right after the argument at the tennis court.
Yeah, you don't do that. That's unacceptable, and he realizes that immediately.
Well, no, Steve, let me be clear. I was not arguing that it was acceptable. I thought we were going to see it, so I was explaining what happened. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings him over to Laurie's side. He sees the wave taking over his decision making.
Yeah, he's turning into a brown shirt.
So the two, now reconciled, they visit Mr. Ross to ask him to put an end to the wave. He assures them that he has it all in hand. He could have smartened them up to what he has in mind, but he doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Instead, to their surprise, David and Laurie's surprise, during the next day's class, Mr. Ross announces a pep rally for wave members only.
Yeah, and Steve, I think the Mr. Ross is getting a little bit too drunk on the power that he's getting out of the wave. He's trying to teach the kids a lesson, but he's really enjoying the whole process of it, in my opinion.
But does that not demonstrate an element of power and how it corrupts?
Not to his students, no. To his wife,
I mean,
yes.
to the audience.
Oh, to the audience, sure. Yeah, but that doesn't impact his lesson plan and what he's trying to teach the students.
No.
Yeah.
So,
because he could have let those two in on it.
Yes.
And just be like, don't tell anyone. This is what's going on. They'll all find out tomorrow. But no, he wants to have the big reveal. He's a showman. He's all right.
All right, and this big reveal is during this pep rally for wave members only.
Yeah.
Their leader will reveal himself. That's what Mr. Ross promises. And David and Laurie object when this is announced in their class, and they're escorted from the classroom by fellow students at Ross's demand.
Mm-hmm.
He could have asked them to just go along with the angle.
Yeah.
So now it's the day of the big rally. Students gather wearing wave armbands, and they await the arrival of their leader via closed-circuit television.
Yes, he tells them there's a national leader that's going to speak to them.
And that also this is going on in other schools.
Oh,
it's a national movement, and they're all connected through this video link. And their leader will reveal himself. Well, the wait for the leader to appear is longer than expected, and the students, naturally, they become restless.
There is no leader, is there?
Yes, there is. There's your leader.
Yeah.
Yep. Just another day at Nuremberg High School.
So Mr. Ross then goes on to explain how the very behaviors they engaged in as part of the wave had much in common with the behaviors of those in Germany during the time of Hitler's rise and term in power.
Yeah.
And we're going to see a little more of what Ross has to say.
Yes, you would have all made good Nazis. You would have put on the uniforms, turned your heads, and allowed your friends and neighbors to be persecuted and destroyed? Fascism isn't something those other people did. It's right here, in all of us. You ask.
Yeah. Now, Ross does go on to say that each of them must question their own behaviors rather than following a leader, and never to let a group's will infringe on their individual rights. And everybody goes home.
Well, not everybody, Steve. One guy is left behind. We're not going to see that?
Oh, no, please tell the folks.
Oh, we're not going to see where Robbie assassinates Mr. Ross for betraying the wave? I mean, he did cry at the end of it.
Yeah,
he's crying, and Mr. Ross has to take him. I read the last page of the novel in the course of this, and that's what it concerns. Is he took Robbie out to lunch? He's going to need some. He's going to need a lot of help after this. Robbie was really into the wave.
Well, it was the first thing that gave him any social credibility.
Right. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add about the wave before we rate it, I said it's based on a true story, but the success of the real-life wave, the success of the experiment, is not really known because it barely happened. The real Mr. Ross, a teacher called Ron Jones, had all of these elements planned for his history students, but had to abandon most of it due to protest of parents and fellow faculty. So what you said earlier about what would happen today actually happened in 1967.
Yeah. I heard YouTube was all over him. Yeah. Well, I will say, at the beginning of the show, I brought up another such thing that I'd studied in my sociology class. It was Jane Elliott, and I believe it was right around the same time. They were younger kids, second, third grade, and she told them, "Hey, everyone that has brown eyes is a bad person. If you have blue or green eyes, you're better than them." And she carried that through the whole day. And by the end of the day, the brown-eyed kids were being spit on and treated like dirt. The next day, she said, I was wrong. It's actually the blue-eyed kids that are the problem. And the exact same thing happened. So there is some evidence of this type of thing being implemented in a classroom and with this kind of the same results. Again, I don't know that that's really ethical, especially. And it's one thing for high school kids, but these were young kids, man. And they did follow-ups, and the kids say, "Oh, it was great. Like we learned, we became more empathetic people because of that." But yeah, you tell parents of third graders that, and good luck.
Right. And the teacher wouldn't have the opportunity to say, "No, trust me, in years from now,
yeah,
we're going to appreciate this."
Yeah.
You don't have that opportunity.
But that was the end result, according to the 10-minute follow-up they did on 60 Minutes. I don't know, who knows?
Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this before we rate it?
No, I've said enough.
Okay, would you like to rate it first?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to give this might come as a surprise. 4 out of 5 Meredith Baxters. And perhaps in any era, this sort of lesson seems to apply to the current climate. But the wave feels particularly apt to today and what they call cancel culture. Decades ago, Roger Ebert said that political correctness is the fascism of the 90s. He said it in the 90s.
Yeah.
And he'd be appalled by the way society has conformed to it. As a broadcaster, Chris, and I know you feel the same way, the First Amendment is very important to us, as it was for the Laurie character in this program. But we live in a world now where it's not even only unpopular or controversial takes on issues. If your face makes the wrong sound, even if provably by accident or within reasonable context, doesn't matter. Your life is ruined. You're an unemployable social pariah, and people feel not only justified, but morally obligated to bring about those consequences, with no regard for the fact that someday it will happen to them if this attitude persists, no matter their profession. All of this, of course, is done under the guise of eradicating dangerous and hateful ideas, without any sense of irony. Culturally, Chris, we're on a perilous treadmill. Speaking of things that would appall Roger Ebert.
Well, Steve, you had me until you brought up Roger Ebert, because he gave Ted 2, 2 thumbs down. And let me tell you, folks, you want to see a good movie, you cannot do better than Ted 2. You will laugh the entire first 30 minutes, and then you will laugh often afterward. Have you seen it, Steve?
I have not.
It's hilarious. Go home and watch it.
I saw the first one.
The first one.
I enjoyed the first one very much.
The first one is funny. It's also a very heartwarming story. In the second one, they say, no, we're not going to try to make a heartwarming story. We're just going to tell jokes for 2 hours or an hour and a half, whatever it was. It's hilarious.
I like that. Well,
Roger, you was wrong about that. Maybe right about what you were saying. I kind of lost interest in what you were saying. But anyway, I'm going to also give this 4 out of 5. It's good. I think this is maybe the one after-school special we watched so far that I could actually tell people you might enjoy it on its own merit. And like I said, I was checking out parts of the book. It's only like a 170-page book. It'd be an easy read. I might check that out too, you know. I don't know. I would be more inclined to check it out if I knew it was more based on a true story and not. It says it's a novel, so it could be entirely fictional. Who
this
knows?
is what the man planned to do.
Yeah. But you can't. The results would have been completely unknown at that point, you know. But are we done?
In that case, I think we did it, Chris.
Okay.
Thank you so much. For Chris Borgani, Jim Corhan, I'm Steve Rizowski, baby. Holy Magadao. Iedereen bedankt.